What's going on, everybody? It's Yamaha R6. I finally wanted to make a short video talking about my 2008 Yamaha R6. Just talking mainly about the things that are done to it and modifications that I've made over the last 2 years, give or take, and kind of the plan I'm going for it. Mostly just want to talk about the things that I've done to it and why I've done them to it. I know it's kind of tore apart right now. I'm currently kind of going through a lot of miscellaneous stuff right here. So I've got, those are the old wheels and tires, very clearly worn out. We've got lots of miles on those. Kind of a greenish bronze wheel, old rotors. So I got a set of wheels powder coated here. Obviously fresh tires on them. These are old rotors that I resurfaced. Same for the front and rear. So we're going to be putting those on. Obviously, when I got these powder coated, I had to take the bearings out. So these now have new bearings, seals, spacers, valve stems, tires, wheels. So basically everything's going to be brand new drivetrain wise. That's not transmission related. So I've got this tore apart here at the moment. We're going to be putting a new front and rear sprocket on. Got them sitting here. Got the old ones off already. Going back to what I had before, which was a 15 in the front and a 45 in the rear. And stock on this bike is 16 in the front, 45 in the rear. I just like the way the 15 pulls a little better lower end. It makes the bike feel a little more usable on the streets. Here we've got a new rear axle. My old one was pretty badly corroded, so I just went ahead and bought a new one. Didn't want to fight with a old corroded axle and new bearings and stuff. Got new chain here. Not sure how I feel about the X-ring stuff. I've always ran O-ring, but we're gonna give it a try. I think the gold's gonna look good with the bike. So this is 114 links. Should be fine considering that's what the old one was with the 1545 setup. So I think that'll be okay. Down here we've kind of got our old box of goodies. So I've got the old sprockets, old chain. These are, that would be rear bearings, front bearings. These are off the wheels that I had powder coated. That's the old chromey axle, and it is clean. That's just how corroded it is. This is the old like cush drive. So broke a bolt off in there, which I can get out easily. One of the other studs came out, but this actually has a little crack on it that I probably won't be able to pick up on camera, but there's a crack in the hub. So had to get a new one of those from Yamaha, which was like 250 bucks, but got one of those on the way. That's why it still tore apart. But once that comes in, then everything can go back together, and that's when it'll start looking better. So first we'll talk about the obvious things that we've got going on. So I've got the new wheels and tires, just waiting on that cush drive I just mentioned. I'm about to balance them. So this is normally I take my stuff to Moto Tire. Like I'll take my wheels up there and have them swap the tires. I bought the Motion Pro balancer. I've got some of their weights. I've got their tire spoons and stuff. So I actually did this myself. Wasn't that bad. I didn't think it was that bad. I used all the stuff to protect the wheels and keep things nice and clean. So I was pretty happy with the outcome of that. Everything went fairly smoothly. As far as putting the bearings in, I just threw them in the freezer overnight, set the wheels out in the sun because it's been like 105 the last few days. Look, it's raining out there now, but throwing those aluminum wheels in the sun and then bearings in the freezer, I just tapped them in with a socket. It wasn't anything too crazy. So those new wheels are the most recent modification, I guess you could say. I had those powder coated about a week ago. So that's where we'll start since that's the newest thing. The color is actually Audi Goodwood Green, which I think matches the bike pretty well. So these are monster fairings. The color was just called dark gloss green, and I think they match pretty well. Haven't gotten it outside yet, just still working on it in here, but that's the most recent modification I've made. Obviously tires are important. I definitely pushed the limit on these guys over here. I mean, you can see we weren't showing any belts yet, but we were getting pretty shady. Fronts weren't horrible, but definitely not ideal either. So I was pushing my luck on those, but we got the new ones here now. All right, and the second important thing that I wanted to mention as far as the modification list, the one that's probably the most obvious is the fairings. So like I just mentioned a second ago, these are from Monster Fairings. I was pretty happy with the fit as far as like getting the pieces to go together and getting the, you know, push knobs and everything snapped in. I had no problems with it. I've heard people have mixed reviews. To me, I would say the fit was about as good as the OEM ones are, which is not terrible, not great. So it's about on par with OEM. Overall, I was very happy with the clear coat and the paint. I know right now it's super dirty because it's been in here and fingerprinted up, but the clear coat looks really good. Paint looks really good. I've had no problems with chipping other than like the common spots, you know, where the front tire throws crap up on it and stuff like that. But overall, I've had no problems with it. I did buy these decals myself, put them on myself. They come without any decals, so I had those printed off and stuck those on there on both sides just to kind of give it a little better view. But overall, I was really happy with those. That's the most obvious modification, and that's the one people ask the most about, and they always come up to me talking about it. So to me, that's probably the most important thing I've done. Next up, we'll do some more cosmetic stuff. So this is a Pugue windshield. I'm a 6'2", so I'm a little taller. This helps a little bit with me being able to get behind it. It's a little bit taller, but not like those crazy ones you see that are just grossly tall. So I was really happy with the look of that. Definitely get a smoked one like I've got here. Don't get the blacked out one because you'll not be able to see through it. This one you can see through just fine. But very happy with that. Again, like the look of it. Got these Woodcraft block-off plates for the mirrors. I'm not a fan of how the mirrors look, so got those in. Happy with the way those look. Kind of ties the whole front end together. I guess we'll keep working our way back from the front of the bike, but up here we've got CRG clutch lever and brake lever on both sides. I don't want to squeeze the brake because I've got the rotors off right now, but fully adjustable. I think they're about 200 bucks a piece. CRGs both sides. Then you can see I've got the Woodcraft lever protectors, domino grips, mostly for cosmetics. I don't really track it or anything like that, but just like the aggressive stance it gives the bike. Love the domino grips. I don't like a crazy, like aggressive texture pattern. These are not smooth, but you know, they're just kind of a sticky rubber pattern here. So pretty happy with those. Keep working our way back. I've got Shogun frame sliders. So these are something, again, I just kind of got one because I didn't have frame sliders. Two, they're kind of the most streamlined and they don't have a ton of graphics on them. They're just black. So they kind of blend with everything pretty well. And then a little bit further back, I've got these Woodcraft, let's see if I can zoom in, these Woodcraft crank cover. So that's their timing cover there. On this other side here, I've got the stator cover, and then I plan on doing the crankcase cover over here, but they don't really make one that's nice, and this one's already just kind of black and matches everything. That's my biggest thing, is I like stuff to match. But having both sides Woodcraft with the gold plate makes it look really nice to me, so that's kind of why I ran those. Kind of ties the bike together as far as like the green with little bits of gold accents all throughout. Next big thing you'll notice is the exhaust. So this is not in the stock position. As you can see, I'm not using the OEM mounting point. That is an SC Project CRT tip mounted to a Graves mid pipe or wide pipe, whatever you want to call it, and then Graves headers up front. So it does have a full exhaust. It's not all matching, but I like the look of the super short, stubby, can style exhaust, which is like for SC Project, kind of just dominates. So love that, love the sound. I'll put some sound clips in so you guys can hear what it sounds like. But to me, that's the best. Everything's just super sleek and slim. you don't have a super big tip hanging out the side, because normally that would be up next to the swing arm, so it'd be sticking out like this. And I just really like that sleek look down the side right there. Still have the OEM rear sets, totally fine with those. I like the look of them, kind of breaks up the colors a little bit. We've got Galfer braided lines, yellow in the front and rear to match. Probably gonna put different ones on soon. This one's been rubbing up here a little bit and I'm just not a huge fan of that. So probably just gonna replace them with what's on there because I'm pretty happy with how they behaved. I would squeeze the brake pedal and show you, but I've only got about a ½ inch of travel. They're super firm, partially from those hoses, also just from keeping them bled well and clean fluid in there. Not much on this side other than, again, just stock rear sets, same kickstand. I keep this bike's at stock ride height. Again, I'm pretty tall, so I don't want to lower it down, excuse me, or anything like that. Custom license plate. That is a real plate, so it is expired. That's why I'm doing all this stuff, so I can get to pass inspection. But that's about it as far as the cosmetics go. The next thing I would point out that I did, I bought some carbon fiber off of, I think it was eBay, to be honest, and it's just like a, I can't, it's like Moto Composite. I'll put a picture in here where I got them from. I just got matching pieces, so I've got these up front, which the fairing kit did come with these. They're just black. So I've got these on both sides, which kind of gives it that nice cockpit style feel there. I got the little tank side fairing here, so this is smooth carbon, and then I've got the tail section here instead of just black. So that was pretty much all I did. I also have over here, grab it real quick, I have it off the bike since I was doing the Sprocket, front Sprocket cover. So again, that just kind of ties everything together. As far as like, I just like dark overall. I don't like super flashy colors. So the carbon, I went with the same twill. I can't remember what it was. I'll put stuff in there so you guys can see. The same twill pattern that was on the exhaust is what I got this in. And they do make this in a gloss, but I just got the matte finish. I feel like it stays cleaner, longer, and I think it just looks kind of, from afar, it just looks black, which is kind of what I was going for. Now, I do have a power commander in the tail of the bike, so laid in there, but it's an old school one. I think it's a power commander 2 or maybe even 1. That stays in the back. It does have 2 maps on it. One is for regular 93 pump gas, one is for MR12. So that guy that owned this before me used to track it, hence why you see a lot of the safety wire stuff like over here, and the oil drain bolt has safety wires because obviously it used to be a track bike. Power commander, I did have this dyno tuned. It made 115 wheel horsepower and 46 foot-pounds of torque. Pretty typical for an 08 R6, I would say. When I had the bike tuned, I had it tuned at Mike Taylor, Taylor Motorsports Garage. That's the shop that he owns. When I had it tuned, it had 20,000 miles, and he had recommended a valve adjustment, which it was already on my radar, so I agreed with him. I had him do the valve adjustment, just he already had it in there, kind of tore apart, and did that for me. So had a valve adjustment at 20,000, tuned at 20,000. It now has 32,000 on it, I think. 32,500. So I've rode the daylights out of it, that's for sure. But it's been a good bike overall. All the little things I've done to it to make it mine are kind of what the whole point of upgrading and modifying your bike. But I would say it's a pretty typical R6 build. There's not a whole lot you can do to it other than like I've kind of gone fancy on the color schemes and stuff like that. I do want to take you back over here too. This is another, I almost forgot to mention this is crucial. Ohlins steering dampener. So I was shopping around forever. I looked at the GRP dampener, seen all the reviews where people say they start leaking after like 6 months. That's the one that's like a big box right here. Ohlins I've had on here for 15,000 miles. No problems. It's perfect. Super easy to adjust. You can kind of adjust it on the fly while you're riding. Helps a ton with, I never really had speed wobble problems, but I did have the occasional, like, you know, when you're accelerating and hit a bump, the front end gets kind of light, you'll just get a little wobble. That totally got rid of all that. So that was not really a crucial mod. I mean, you don't have to do it, but for my own safety, I thought it was good. And it just looks good. We've kind of got the gold and green and silver accents all around, and it just tied right into this color scheme. Trying to make sure I didn't forget anything, but I definitely am. Tech spec tank grips, crucial. Those were, because I ride in jeans a lot, and it was super slippery on the bike. So these, for the money, one of the best things I put on here that helped me a ton. Vortex gas cap. Just trying to think of the little stuff that I've done. I'm sure I'm mentioning it. I'm skipping over it. I did get a gold hardware kit for the main fairing bolts that kind of helps tie everything together. Raining like crazy out there right now. Never a better time to work on this thing. Yeah, I feel like I'm not missing anything. This is pretty much covered the bases. I did a few little things like new reservoir. That one was just kind of old and faded. Obviously, I flushed all the brake fluid. Same for the front, flushed all the brake fluid. It's kind of just typical maintenance stuff. That's one thing I want to mention. I had a few wiring problems with this when I first bought it. They were more so just like laziness in the wiring, but I came through here and it's kind of dark, but I tidied everything up as far as wiring, gave everything some loom. The horn used to not work, so I put a new horn on it. It's just little stuff like that I've fixed. Never really had any crazy problems. This thing never really ever left me stranded. I did have the water pump start leaking. Again, to be expected on 30,000 mile bike. Not hard to replace. I did put a new timing chain tensioner in it. These are hydraulic ones on the R6, and they can get clogged up over time, so those just mount right over here. That was easy to put on. That's pretty much it. I've really not had many problems with this. The one time that did leave me stranded, it was super hot out. I was in traffic, turned it off to I was just sitting at a red light, and the bike didn't want to start because it was like heat soaked to the starter. Apparently that's a common thing, is these bikes can get heat soaked. The starter won't work or something like that. Still has the battery in it from when I bought it 2 years ago. That's probably something I'll need to throw in there eventually, just to keep myself from getting stuck somewhere that I don't want to. While I had the bike in here, I did sand these headers down. They were getting kind of gross, so I just hit them 100 grit, 220, 400, just to give them a new brushed look. They were kind of just brown and corroded looking. I didn't like the way it looked when the bike was parked. But still has the stock headlights. A lot of people do the Moto Dynamics headlights. I really like just the clear plain Jane lens. And funny enough, I actually like the kind of old school yellowish headlights because it kind of matches the scheme of the bike. I know a lot of people put LEDs in them, and I thought about doing it, but I just don't know how I'd like the bright white look compared to everything else on here. It's kind of got that gold and silver theme going. But it does have a Rev 2 quick turn throttle here. So what this does is make it to where 0 to full throttle is shorter. So that's 0 throttle, that's 100%. So it's got different cam lobes in here that literally pull on the throttle cable. I think this one's got the second most aggressive one, so it's pretty touchy. I mean, right there would get you 50, 60 mile an hour. So it gets pretty touchy, but I like to be able to quickly in traffic, just blip the throttle open and, passing people or whatever it may be. You can get into the power band of the R6 a lot faster with something like that. You don't have to re-grab to turn the throttle. You can just keep your wrist in one position. Overall, for it being a 20-something-year-old bike, I'm very happy with it. It's to me very low maintenance. As long as I clean my chain pretty regularly, once every other week, give or take. I check my tire pressure, check my oil every week. Just regular things you're supposed to do with a motorcycle with an engine. and it's never had any problems. I've never had any crazy maintenance bills. Obviously, I do most everything myself here, but overall, I ride it for months, you know, the entire season, the entire summer, without ever needing to put it on a stand, other than to occasionally adjust the chain, to lube the chain. Nothing crazy major. This is probably the longest it's been down. It's been in here about 3 days now. I've just been tinkering with it after work. Obviously not really in a hurry with the weather, but almost got it back together. Just got to throw the tires on, throw the wheels on. And again, talking on the topic of maintenance, I use Maxima chain wax, and that's a DID chain O-ring, I think. Had like 22,000 miles on it. It was okay still. Wasn't stretching or anything. I just replaced it because it was like, oh, it's got 20,000 miles on a Supersport. That's kind of shady. That's the reason I changed it. But I use Maxima chain wax, Maxima chain cleaner, just plastic brushes, you know, to scrub up and down it. Occasionally WD-40 to clean it, but I don't like to do that. I just feel like it slings really bad. When I change the oil in this, I'm kind of a weirdo where I use Yamaha filter, Yamaha oil. So I use the stock Yamalube 10W40, and I use just the Yamaha OEM filter. I live pretty close to Big St. Charles in St. Louis, Missouri, so they obviously carry everything Yamaha that I could ever need. So I get my stuff through there as far as parts go, or I'm a big user of Partzilla. I feel like they've gotten a lot of my money for stuff like this, the bearings and stuff. I always go OEM. The axle was OEM. So I'm pretty set on maintenance. Like when I get this put back together, like another day or so, when I get the wheels put on, or whenever the cush drive shows up and I can throw it on the tire and get it all mounted, I, knock on wood, got plywood down here, I don't think I'll need to touch this probably the rest of the season. That's how it's been the last few years, other than, again, chain oil. I change my oil every 2,500 miles, which seems pretty low. To me, it's cheap preventative maintenance, so I do it. I know some people that run 3K, 5K. Good for them. This is an older bike. I don't want to risk it. These things rev so high that, you know, I do some spirited riding, if that's what they always say, but I just would rather be ahead of the curve than not. Speaking of buying OEM parts, there are some places where you can kind of switch it up a little bit. So, for example, I run the NGK CR10 EK spark plug. That's just what they recommend. They've done flawless for me. But I bought, kind of foolishly, I bought the Dynatech coil packs, which they're like $200 a piece times 4. But they have a lifetime warranty, pretty like no excuses. So if I ever crack a coil or whatever, you know, starts reading bad resistance or something, they'll just send me a new one. So the coils were expensive, but again, I plan on keeping this thing forever. It's my first street bike, and it's in good enough shape that if I do blow the motor or something catastrophic, it's financially worth rebuilding for me. I only paid $5,000 for this a few years ago. I've probably put $5,000 into it, granted, but that's besides the point. You know, that's part of the game. As far as like plugs, coils, I normally just recommend OEM. I'm not afraid of buying OEM parts used. eBay's fantastic for that, buying used OEM stuff. Done that for a few different things. I've found recently, when it's super hot outside, this is definitely the move. Just roll it right in the back door in the basement. AC is pretty nice to work in. I do have another set of these I bought. These are just getting a little wore. I just noticed those laying over there. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty much covered the bases. Obviously, if you guys have any questions on anything I mentioned in the video or didn't mention that you noticed and I just didn't say anything about it because I forgot about it. If you see anything or want to ask about stuff that I've done to it or just have questions on how I did it, obviously comment or DM me if that's a thing on YouTube. I don't really think you can. Always down to talk about it. Like I said, I do all my work myself, so I've been pretty far into this bike. numerous times, so I'm pretty familiar with it. Always open to recommendations. If there's something you guys seen on here where it's like, oh wow, he could probably do that better, by all means let me know. Always happy to improve. That's part of the game. This is like I said, this is my first street bike, first motorcycle actually in general. I never had dirt bikes or anything growing up. I do live on some windy back roads, so I do more back road riding than anything, but I'm pretty far from a lot of my friends, so I do have to ride the highways every once in a while. That's kind of the reason I went with the Q5S's, just because they have that harder compound in the center versus the edge. So just gets you a little more life out of them. I got probably 8,000 miles out of those last tires, so I'm really happy with that as far as the way I ride it. Thank you guys for watching. I will be open for recommendations on next video. Just let me know in the comments what anybody wants to see. Probably going to do some basic how-to videos as far as like oil change, spark plugs, filter, chain wax, chain lube, but chain adjustment, just for the people that don't know how to do it or just gotten into street bikes or bikes in general. Probably will also make a small video series on, I'm no expert, but on things, like how to ride a motorcycle, just the basics on clutch work, shifting, etc. Maybe get into counter steering, stuff like that, and go from there. But I think this is the beginning of hopefully something nice.